2:30 a.m. The Alborz Mountains, Tehran. The night sky is dead silent, but 60 meters below the bedrock, the high command of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is about to cease existing. In exactly 14 seconds, a 14-ton GBU-57 bunker buster will smash through their reinforced concrete ceiling like a hot knife through cheap butter, vaporizing their billion-dollar underground fortress. Before we watch that spectacular physics lesson, look at your screens. Minutes after the dust settled, President Donald Trump fired off a Truth Social post that humiliated Tehran. Iran's air defenses supposedly invincible? Ridiculous. Our great military just wiped their radar systems clean like dusting a shelf. Their terror-producing command center in Tehran is gone. They didn't even know what hit them. America never backs down. Peace through strength. If you think you know how modern stealth works, then brace yourself. Stay focused, because those Iranian generals thought their bunker was safe, but they are about to learn a very expensive American lesson. Deep inside that 60-meter concrete tomb, the top brass of the IRGC were probably clinking glasses, completely convinced they had built an impenetrable fortress shielded by a billion-dollar umbrella of Russian and homegrown steel. Up on the surface, the supposedly legendary S-300 PMU-2 and the upgraded Bavard 373 radar arrays were sweeping the dark horizon in a continuous 360-degree rotation, burning massive amounts of electricity just to look incredibly intimidating. These arrogant commanders actually believe their layered defense grid, heavily packed with point defense TOR, M1S and 1.5 million-dollar Panzer S-1 systems, could swat American stealth fighters out of the sky like annoying little flies. You have to laugh at their pure, unadulterated confidence, thinking a heavily advertised, overpriced defense network could stop the greatest military machine in human history. Ordinary viewers might look at those radar screens and see an impenetrable wall of electronic doom. But folks, here is the lethal error they made. They were staring at their screens, waiting for a massive, clumsy, conventional strike, completely oblivious to the fact that the sky above them was already owned by a ghost. Way up in the stratosphere, cruising silently at an altitude where the air is so thin it barely exists, the highly classified RQ-180 stealth drone was already loitering over Tehran like an invisible god of war. This flying supercomputer wasn't dropping bombs. It was vacuuming up every single electronic emission pulsing from their $400 million radar arrays, feeding targeting data back to the strike package in real time. The Iranians thought they were the hunters, locking down the airspace with their expensive Russian-made toys, but they had absolutely no idea they were already the prey in a high-tech execution that had been meticulously calculated down to the exact dollar and the final microsecond. If you ask why their screens were about to explode with phantom contacts, I'll tell you an unbelievable military secret. The Pentagon faced a brutal mathematical and tactical dilemma before launching this decapitation strike. You see, the Iranian airspace around Tehran wasn't just heavily defended. It was a paranoid, overlapping fortress of surface-to-air missiles, where a single mistake could cost the United States a $2 billion B-2 Spirit bomber and hand Tehran a massive, unearned propaganda victory. If you were the commander of the strike package, would you risk flying your most expensive, slow-moving stealth asset directly into a hornet's nest of 70 ready-to-fire Russian and Iranian interceptors? Absolutely not, because in modern warfare, smart economics always defeats raw firepower. Instead of risking American lives, the U.S. Air Force decided to play a cruel, humiliating game of high-tech poker with the Iranian radar operators, using a fleet of F-15EX Eagle IIs acting as heavily armed bomb trucks lingering safely out of range over the Persian Gulf. At exactly 2:25 a.m., these mighty F-15EX fighters unleashed a massive swarm of ADM-160 miniature air-launched decoys, sending dozens of these brilliant little missiles screaming toward the Alborz Mountains. Now, ordinary people might just see a bunch of small rockets flying through the dark, but the strategic minds watching this will realize the absolute genius of the MALD system. These tiny $300,000 electronic tricksters don't carry explosive warheads. Instead, they carry advanced electronic warfare suites that perfectly mimic the radar signatures of massive B-52 bombers or entire squadrons of non-stealthy fighter jets. As these decoys crossed into Iranian airspace, the S-300 and Bavar 373 radar screens inside the command bunkers suddenly lit up like a Christmas tree, displaying a terrifying, overwhelming American armada barreling straight toward their precious capital. The Iranian air defense commanders, sweating bullets in their underground bunkers, faced the ultimate nightmare of a massive saturation attack, completely unaware that they were looking at a carefully orchestrated digital illusion designed to drain their bank accounts. Their multi-million-dollar defense grid was about to be completely exposed by a swarm of relatively cheap robotic ghosts, forcing them to make a desperate, panicky decision that would cost them absolutely everything. Stay with me, because the panic in that bunker is about to become a beautifully chaotic masterpiece. Down in that deep, reinforced bunker, the Iranian generals were practically hyperventilating with a mix of sheer terror and intoxicating arrogance as they stared at the incoming swarm of digital phantoms. They thought this was their glorious moment to bloody the nose of the American superpower, high-fiving each other and shouting victory slogans before a single interceptor even left its launch tube. If you were the commander of this battery, would you panic? Or would you trust your highly touted Russian-made screens? Well, they trusted the screens and immediately slammed the launch buttons, ordering every single S-300, Bavar 373, Tor M1, and Pantsir S, one side around the capital to open fire simultaneously. Suddenly, the quiet mountain night erupted into a blinding, chaotic fireworks display as dozens of massive surface-to-air missiles roared into the dark sky, burning millions of dollars in solid rocket fuel in a matter of seconds. The Iranian operators watched their monitors with smug satisfaction as their interceptors detonated, successfully destroying the incoming signals one by one. They were cheering, convinced they had just swatted down a massive wave of American bombers, completely oblivious to the fact that they had just fallen for the most humiliating financial trap in modern warfare. But folks, here is the lethal error that the Iranian planners missed. The Iranians were celebrating because they shot down a target, but those smart people in our audience know that when you use a $2 million Sayyad 3 missile to destroy a $300,000 electronic decoy, you did not win a glorious victory. You just got your pockets aggressively picked by the United States Air Force. They were literally bankrupting their own defense network, emptying their launch tubes to kill ghosts while screaming in triumph. And while they were busy high-fiving over imaginary kills, they were committing the ultimate cardinal sin. They had fully illuminated their active radar dishes, broadcasting their exact coordinates to the stratosphere. Stay tuned, because the physics of destruction in the next 30 seconds is about to change the map of Tehran forever. While the Iranian commanders were celebrating their imaginary victories against the decoy swarm, the silent stratospheric brain of this operation was already finalizing their death warrants. The classified RQ-180 stealth drone, hovering untouched at the edge of space, instantly absorbed every radar frequency, every desperate transmission, and the exact GPS coordinates of every active S-300, Khordad-15, and Pantsir S-1 battery that had foolishly lit up the night sky. The data was seamlessly beamed across a secure data link to a loitering pack of F-16 CJ Wild Weasels, the undisputed apex predators of enemy air defense suppression. But here is the genius detail making this mission a masterclass in electronic warfare. The F-16 pilots did not even cross the Iranian border to deliver the punchline to this billion-dollar joke. Cruising comfortably over the Persian Gulf, they unleashed a devastating volley of AGM-8 8G advanced anti-radiation guided missiles. Ordinary viewers will just see more rockets, but those of you with a tactical mind know exactly what this weapon does. This isn't a mere missile. It is a supersonic, radar-seeking assassin designed to hunt down arrogant operators. Flying at Mach 2, these kinetic sledgehammers locked onto the electromagnetic emissions of the Iranian radar dishes like bloodhounds catching a scent. Down in the bunkers, the mood instantly shifted from triumphant euphoria to absolute bone-chilling panic. The Iranian radar operators stared at their screens as the incoming signal suddenly changed profile. They weren't slow bombers anymore. They were hyper-fast spears diving straight down their throats. If you were sitting at that Core .15 console right now, what would your next move be? You have exactly two choices. Turn off your multi-million-dollar radar and become blind, or leave it on and invite an explosion right into your lap. They tried to shut down their systems, desperately flipping switches to kill the emissions, hoping the American missiles would lose their lock and drift harmlessly into the desert. But wait, there is one more layer to this triple threat failure. The engineers at Northrop Grumman already thought of that coward's tactic. The AARGM-ER comes equipped with an active millimeter wave radar of its own. Even when the Iranians pulled the plug and plunged their screens into darkness, the American missiles remembered exactly where they were. Stay focused, because how this ends is a masterclass in making the Grizzly blink first, and the sky over Tehran is about to violently collapse. The sky over Tehran was violently ripped apart as American anti-radiation missiles slammed into the Iranian radar arrays with pinpoint brutal precision. In a matter of seconds, the pride of the Islamic Republic, a heavily touted billion-dollar air defense network, was permanently downgraded into smoldering, utterly useless scrap metal. The expensive Russian S-300 and Bavar 373 systems ceased to exist, blown into jagged fragments of burning steel. The capital was now completely blind, deaf, and naked. But here is the twist that makes this mission an absolute masterpiece of strategic intimidation. Ordinary viewers might look at the burning radar sites and think the battle is over, but those of you with an eye for tactical checkmates know the real monsters were just arriving. Slipping through the gaping, smoldering hole in the defense grid without triggering a single alarm, the true apex predator of the night made its silent entrance. The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, flanked by completely invisible F-22 Raptors, cruised effortlessly through the Iranian airspace like it owned the place, because, frankly, it did. The Iranian generals down in their deep, supposedly impenetrable bunker were still frantically screaming into their dead radios, totally oblivious to the shadow of doom passing directly overhead. Warning. If you think a few feet of dirt can save you from American engineering, you are about to get a very loud physics lesson. The massive bomb bay doors of the B-2 silently swung open, and gravity took hold of the ultimate bunker-busting nightmare. The 14-ton GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator dropped into the cold night air, accelerating toward the Earth with terrifying kinetic energy. Don't blink. Unless you want to miss the moment physics changes history, because this spear of high-yield destruction is currently hurtling straight down, perfectly aligned to introduce 60 meters of concrete to the devastating reality of unstoppable American firepower. The 14-ton GBU-57 didn't just hit the ground, it struck with the seismic fury of a localized earthquake. The sheer kinetic mass of the penetrator punched straight through the mountain dirt, effortlessly chewing through 60 meters of heavily reinforced Iranian concrete as if it were cheap cardboard. Down in the bunker, those arrogant commanders who were just high-fiving over imaginary victories didn't even have time to look up at the ceiling. The delayed fuse warhead detonated deep inside their billion-dollar fortress, instantly vaporizing the entire high command in a catastrophic flash of superheated pressure. The thermal truth just got very, very loud. Up above, the American strike package casually turned around and headed home. Not a single American jet was scratched. The billion-dollar Iranian shield was completely shattered, while the US Air Force barely spent a fraction of that to rewrite the tactical map. But folks, here is the genius detail that makes this a masterpiece. The smoking crater in the Alborz Mountains was just the physical punchline to a humiliating strategic joke played on Tehran. While the Iranian military digs through the rubble of their billion-dollar dreams, the real victory sits on American servers. Remember that RQ-180 drone? It didn't just map the destroyed radar sites, it recorded every emergency protocol, backup frequency, and encrypted data link the panicked Iranians used. The US Air Force just forced the entire Iranian defense network to hand over its master playbook for the cost of a few decoys. The Pentagon now has the exact GPS coordinates of every hidden silo, perfectly dialed in for a future Tomahawk storm. They are mathematically and strategically checkmated. Only those with a sharp tactical mind can answer this. If you were an Iranian commander waking up to this absolute embarrassment tomorrow, would you risk launching another attack? Or would you wave the white flag before the B-2's return? Let me know your Grandmaster move in the comments below.